Semi-final number 2, one of the Titans has fallen. Jaedong has been eliminated from the tournament. Bial awaits in the finals, and his opponent will be the winner of the next match. Polt versus Oz.
That's right, Sean, that's right. It's going to be another PvT, but I still think it's going to be super exciting. Despite we already had 2 best-of-5s PvT, you might think, like, I think I've seen it all. I don't think we've seen it at all, because I think we're going to see very different styles, both coming from Oz and Polt. So I think it's going to be fresh. I think it's going to be an amazing best-of-5, and I think it's safe to say that Polt is the favorite for the majority of the fans.
Absolutely.
Not just because they love Polt, but also because they think he's going to win. I actually think the opposite. I think that Oz might be able to take it.
Well, there's this interesting history between these two players. Polt knocked out Oz 3-0 at the last WCS round of 8. So Oz absolutely has a lot to prove in this match, as he's up against one of the most fearsome TV peers in the world. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, showed unbelievable builds against Liquid Hero and took him out 3-0. Can he do it again versus Polt? It is EG's Oz. And up in the top left-hand corner, he is charming and adorable outside of the game, and one of the most aggressive and terrifying players within. Can he get back-to-back championships? CM Storms Polt.
First map is going to be played on Belshire Vestige, as you guys can see, and yes, Sean, that did happen. Last season, Polt was able to defeat Oz 3-0, and it was convincing as well. Just all 3 games, Polt looked a little better. But I think if you go back and if you analyze those games, Oz showed us a couple of really cool and innovative stuff even. He was aggressive with very few Blink Stalkers. He had never had any intention to actually win the game with Blink Stalkers, yet he opened up with it every single time, and he was active with it. Normally if you research Blink, it's just like, hey, I'm going to shut down drops because this is going to be awesome. The opposite happened. Oz was aggressive while just taking map control, and I really liked where he was going with it, but there is one thing that Polt does a little different than most Terrans. If he sees High Templars, he doesn't throw down a Ghost Academy immediately.
Yes.
Polt loves to be active with Marines, Marauders, Medevacs for as long as possible. But I really think if Oz looked back at those games, and also if you looked, for instance, Incredible Miracles first play against Polt, where they met at the Season 2 finals at Gamescom, I really think he can learn a lot from those series. And I think if he's just able to survive, let's say, between 9 and 10 minutes up to the 14-minute point, I think he might have a very, very good shot.
I mean, it looks like Oz is saying, you know what, I don't want to do any delay. I want to get directly into the action with a proxy pylon. It's going to be into Stargate. This is virtually impossible to stop. Even if you do scout it, Reaper's going to come out from Polt. I mean, Oz has really studied Polt's strong spots. It's like you say, he goes for a very aggressive Marine Marauder build. The key is that he cuts medevacs, cuts all the tech that you were talking about, and throws down around 13 minutes, 3 more barracks, going to 8. Oz is preempting all of this by going straight for the Stargate. And couldn't have been a better build.
No, certainly not against the Reaper into Reactor. That means that the Marine count is going to be extremely low. Now, Polt is an extremely good player. He's going to scout the main base of Oz, and I think he already knows what's going on at the moment. He's like, wait, a single pylon? This is something that the European Protoss player Maus Mana likes to do quite a lot. He was famous for it. He proxies his second pylon. You can't possibly do it any quicker than this. Like, this is as quick as the good old Void Rays all-ins we used to do on Metalopolis.
Oh, who didn't love the 3-game Void Ray all-in on Metalopolis, man?
I loved it a lot, Sean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you Protoss player, you would.
So Polt is going to look for this immediately, and he's going to find the Stargate now, but it doesn't mean that he's out of the woods yet. This helps a little bit, but it's still going to be extremely tough. His Marine count is going to be low, and he's throwing down a bunker, but okay, it's on top of his RAM. That's not even going to help that much yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing that you can do about this early Oracle. This is one of the strongest builds that does guaranteed early damage. Oz will almost certainly follow this up with an early expand, even though it's tempting to do a blast down the front play.
I love what Oz is doing as well. He's ignoring the Reaper. He can just fly into the middle at the moment. 4 Marines might not even be enough if he micros properly. And here we go. This Oracle is going to have free reign for quite a while.
And it looks like the Reaper is doing some nice, or the Stalker's chasing down the Reaper, protecting that. It's already gotten 6 kills, back and forth micro. I mean, wait, has Oz just won this outright? I mean, this is truly an almost perfect counter build.
Yes, it is. So far, Polt fell down to 15 SCVs. This is still something you can work with because it's an expand build. But the Stalkers are going to be a real problem as well. I love that Polt is staying active with this Reaper. He knows that it's coming, but he's still microing great with the Oracle.
Oracle in the main. New one, nice and fresh, getting tons of kills, going up to 6. A third Oracle in production, and the single Stalker at the front is dealing massive damage.
Wow, this is a hard... Oh, he keeps the Oracle alive as well. He still has 2 Oracles. He is throwing down a Nexus behind this, but that doesn't mean that the aggression is going to stop anytime soon. He can still get a couple of Stalkers out, take absolute map control, and maybe even keep Oz on one base for a very long amount of time.
What a build from Oz. I mean, right now his original Oracle has healed up enough energy to get back in the action and do some pain.
If all 3 of them fly into the main right now, there are not enough Marines to deal with the Oracles.
This is a disaster for Polt. He can't move out, but Polt has managed to find enough wherewithal to throw down the Tech Lab to begin Stim and to make sure he doesn't hinder his late game plan. And here comes, it looks like a pair of Oracles.
He could potentially go with all 3 of them. It would be a ridiculous amount of DPS. The longer he waits, the more Marines will go out there. So it seems like Polt will be able to stabilize for now, but not before being down 8 workers. We also saw the Robo going down, so Oz is just, he's satisfied with the amount of damage that he dealt, and he doesn't want to take a risk. He doesn't want to all in from this, which I think would have been a correct decision, but going into a macro game isn't really a bad choice either when you're 10 workers ahead.
Definitely not for the fans, it isn't. Going into a macro game in one of these awkward spots, it's suddenly not what's my build, how do I follow along with it? It's what's my in-game judgment? How do I play on the fly and play well? Factory going down for Polt, he wants to get those medevacs up fast. And the 2 Oracles are starting to position from the right side, but Polt knows how to count. He sees 2 and knows that there's a third one hiding somewhere.
Stim is more than halfway done though, so this is about the moment that Oz is going to have to be careful. I am very surprised that he went up to 3 Oracles, but didn't use it to, either sacrifice them for the greater good, as in kill a bunch of Marines and then kill a ridiculous amount of workers. Keeping Oracles alive is awesome, but keeping 3 Oracle alive late game, that really doesn't do that much for you, even though it's something that Polt is going to have to worry about throughout the entire game.
And here's the bust in, and 1 Oracle almost falls, but Oz! Well, looks like Oz does wind up losing one of those Oracles, and I don't like the transition that Oz is doing. Oz is starting to head up to Templar Archive Tech, which is the Twilight Council going down. I mean, he's doing some nice damage, but Polt is slowly gaining momentum and is slowly going to have medevacs coming out.
Taking a look at the Mothership Core has over 100 energy, so there will be a photon overcharge in case he's going to have to worry about all these Stim Marines, and that's definitely something that he might have to worry about, as he doesn't really have all that many units, and he's still doing this of a single gateway as well. Now he does have 2 sentries and 2 stalkers, so if Polt would go all in and, as we like to say, YOLO swag 420, just go in, try to kill as many probes as possible, I don't think it's going to work out all that well, because there should be enough DPS in this Protoss army with the photon overcharge.
I think Polt is just doing the usual style that he does in many games. He's just going to push to the front, get the overcharge, and then when he does his follow-up play with medevacs, which is just around the corner.
He has to be so careful though, if he gets force fielded in with the photon overcharge, and I think he knows. I think he was hoping to spot a few units less here. This is not something you can mess with, Polt.
This is a very tough play from Oz. I won't say I don't like it. I love Blink first plays into Colossus, but it's extremely difficult. The Colossus would have been a much safer option. Polt clearly would not have enough funds right now to get a 3rd base or to add on the additional 2 barracks as Terrans normally do, especially with the Oracle still doing damage. I mean, so Oz is going to try to go toe-to-toe with a player who's almost on guaranteed 2 base with Blink. I don't like it. I like the Robo coming down much earlier.
Yeah, I can understand where you're going with it. I still think he's going to be okay, because we shouldn't forget that this was not a normal game. The openings were quite thrown off. Polt lost a lot of units, lost a lot of SCVs as well. So the timings that Polt normally would like to do against a build like this, well, look at this Observer, he likes to live dangerous.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it looks like essentially Oz is saying, you're not going to have a lot of units, you might have medevacs, so I only need a few units, but I need them to be very, very versatile. That's what I need the Blink for. We'll see if it's going to pan out. Right now, Polt is going to go into his traditional macro play. He's just getting all the rest of his add-ons, throwing up a 3rd command center, and not even being shy about it either. It's in the aggressive position, too.
Oracle is very close to scouting this 3rd command center. Yeah, interesting position. Normally not something we see very often. I guess kind of sneaky, trying to get away with it. There is a single missile turret, but it's not covering the entire mineral line, so this Oracle is going to be annoying as well. So far, Oz has been doing a pretty good job with his Oracles, despite committing to 3 of them.
The natural expansion's also under fire from an Oracle. I mean, Oz is controlling these 2 Oracles so brilliantly.
I still feel, look how many SCVs that he's killed. He's killed 23 SCVs throughout the entire game.
Brutal.
But if you take a look at the worker count, he's 10 workers ahead, 8 at the moment. It's not even too crazy considering the fact he's playing against a double orbital build.
Uh-oh. Polt's units are getting stuck outside the front of his base. He's immediately stimming to retreat. He has 2 packs of units splitting up around the map. Most Terrans love to be on the attack mode, but Polt likes his delayed timings. He likes getting up lots of barracks, having a very Marauder-heavy mix, and winning with macro. So with that 3rd command center down, Oz is slowly going to begin to need to get his own 3rd up.
Yeah, he's not producing probes anymore though. He's been on 49 for quite a while.
Wait,
a lot of
really?
Blink Stalkers and a big Colossus play could be very scary.
He's getting 2 more gates. I think he's just going to go for a 2-base all-in.
Oh, great force was here. Forward Blink is a little ballsy, but he will be able to pick up the Medevacs. Not before losing a lot of Stalkers though.
Uh-oh, it looks like Oz was not prepared for this push to come out on the backside. And it looks like, the Colossus arrives just in time. Polt is not going to get any easy pickups. Oz still doing damage with those oracles. They're swinging around, and now a Warp Prism at the 3rd.
And a Warp Prism is gone. Well, this is actually the first time he's aware of it. He's like, oh, that's nice. I can drop here too and in the main, so I create 2 problems at once.
Very fortunate pickup here for Polt, being able to pick off this Warp Prism. Mules all die at the 3rd.
Oh, Polt misrallying a couple of bio units here. That's a pretty expensive mistake. He's losing a few Marauders and a handful of Marines. I'm so surprised how Oz played this out though. He created the absolute dream scenario for himself, but now he's just staying on 2 base for an extreme amount of time, still not producing any workers. He's getting Blink, Charge, Colossus, and Storm of 2 bases. I can't even do that of 3, Sean.
I mean, he's not even continuing upgrades at the Forge. Forge is staying idle. 1-1 is not a really good spot to be in, especially with Terran at 1-1. You want to be at least 2-1 at this stage in the game. Oz is really going to have to commit to this push. How many Templar does he even have? None? With Storm done? I mean, there's so much disorganization in Oz's build.
I feel like Oz is trying to do a million things at once, and in the end, is just not really sure what he wants to do. That doesn't change that this is still an extremely scary push. He has 7 Blink Stalkers, 10 of them at the moment against 8 Vikings. He might be able to get a couple of feedbacks off, or maybe even 1 or 2 Archons in the mist. Polt is not ready to defend this yet. Maybe some force fields.
Oh, and it looks like Polt is swinging in from all sides. Good force fields on the south end. 1 Colossus gets target fired immediately and falls. Those SCVs are pivotal in this battle. 1 Colossus remains, and then it's only Blink Stalkers from there. But was it enough damage? It looks like Oz is caught again at a really bad angle. How is Polt pulling this off? The Vikings land, the Stalkers not doing enough damage output, and suddenly Oz's army evaporates.
A lot of SCVs died again though, but yes, Polt will hold for now. That was kind of a strange and unorganized attack by Oz as well, as one of the Colossus was even shooting at this refinery, and that's not a very good use of your Colossus.
Yeah, well, it looks like he even got it to 2/3 health. a nice pickup for Oz.
He might be able to finish it off later on.
Whoa, and that'll slow down his gas for 30 seconds before it gets rebuilt. I mean, right now Oz has completely tossed away his lead. The workers killed at 52, but that doesn't really mean that much at this moment. There's only 4 Templar out. That's the only AoE. There needs to be more Colossus. There definitely needs to be more upgrades done. I think Oz is starting to crumble under pressure.
I agree. I think Oz was a little too excited after he put himself in a good position early on, and he was just like, I'm gonna win, and I don't know how I'm gonna win. And in the end, he's not actually winning yet. But now he's producing 3 probes at a time. He's 20 probes ahead. Triple Orbital is amazing, but 20 probes is a lot of workers.
Those Blink Stalkers, I mean, it's almost like Oz is amazing at the really cutesy stuff and suffers with the more direct, straight-on style. I mean, if Oz and Rain merged together, they would... Oh my god. That would be like Chuck Norris and Liquid Hero merging together, man. That would be amazing.
Then again, merging anything with Rain is pretty amazing.
That is true.
Forward Blink going down. This is not a fight that Oz has to take, but he has a lot of Storm, so I guess he's going to be okay.
But look at the value that Polt's doing, spreading out all of his units in the midst of amazing storms. This is how Polt succeeds with these incredible splits, taking everything down when it seemingly shouldn't happen.
Oh my. 60 army supply at the moment against 31. That was absolutely a fight that Oz didn't have to take. He will have a photon overcharge and even a time warp if he really wants, but he just sacrificed 6 High Templars and he dealt a lot of damage, but he didn't finish off the units.
I mean, this is where Oz needs to just begin to play calm. No matter how strong attacks and drops can be, Nothing replaces having good fundamental control, relying on those counterattack pylons that he has set up, and playing a long-term calm game. Throwing down a Dark Shrine right now and just turtling and defending is an situation to be in. But Oz is so focused on defending this third base that he's starting to try to step out toward the watchtower so he can get that breathing room.
He knows those Medivacs left as he had the Observer there. This is a good little moment. He also has the upgrade advantage as these Zealots are on 1-2 against the 1-1 bio. That Archon was very mad at the Viking. Whoa.
Well, it looks like with this aggression, with the amount of aggression Polt has, I mean, the Medivacs don't even have enough energy to feed back. He gets the feedbacks down in time. Polt doesn't care. He's going to unload Mass Marine Marauder.
He's misrallying those units as well. Perhaps he thought that Polt was going to back off, but he's not. So Polt is going to be able to pick off a few units. At the same time, we can already see at the mini-map a lot of units running towards the turret.
Oz is doing the dangerous dance, and it looks like Oz has split up his units properly enough to deflect the pressure at the third. No Blink Stalkers remain to be able to pick off the drop. At that natural expansion between third and neck, we see Polt continuing to kite. It's just as you were talking about before the game. He doesn't like to tech up to Ghost. He wants to stay active on the map with the real brawlers, the Marauders and Marines.
And this, above all, is really the moment where Oz is just going to have to collect himself. It's just like, I got all the tech, I got the upgrade advantage for now. I lost the robotics facility, that kind of hurts, but if I sit on 6, 7, 8 Templars and I have an upgrade advantage, I should never ever die. And if Polt just keeps throwing Marines and Marauders at him, eventually, like if up to 150, 160 supply, I think Terran can kill a Protoss army when it has Storm as well. But if it's a 200 Protoss supply army with a bunch of Archons, Colossus and Storm, and then you don't have Ghost, well, no bueno. You're not going to make it happen.
I mean, I think this is very smart from Oz. This expansion looks risky, but Oz is committing himself to defense. No big deal. He's going to just put more stuff that's good to defend. So it even further justifies him staying back. He's getting Colossus count back up. He has some Templar. And with that Dark Shrine, I mean, this proxy pylon at the far right is in ideal position. And it looks like Polt doesn't even know Oz has this fourth base yet.
He thought about going for it. Nope, he's just controlling the Zelnaga Watchtower. Polt still hasn't seen his Observer, which surprises me a bit. Okay, well, there we go. But it was there for quite a while, and it definitely made Oz's life a little easier.
Yeah, now this is where Oz's life becomes hard. He has no idea there's two armies swooping in. Looks like it's going to be a double-pronged attack, but...
There's so many storms, though.
Archon's in the front. Oz accidentally loses one and then whiffs a storm.
The Colossus saw the other army. This Colossus is very exposed and will fall.
Well, can he manage to pick this army off? And no feedbacks will go down. Polt does spot the fourth, takes that down, and no DT counterattacks had happened yet. Those would be tremendous.
This is a good pick-off for Polt. I still like Oz's position as they're... Okay, the first Ghosts are in production now, but it's going to take a long time before Polt is going to get an even amount of Ghost against the High Templar count. And this is going to sound crazy, but I don't think that the Ghost against High Templar war is something that Polt really excels at. He excels at multitasking, at just throwing away Marines, Marauders, and being all over the place, like we see he's trying to do at the moment. But I think 200 against 200 supply, I really like to put my money on Oz.
Oz doesn't have the luxury to move the Templar and Zealots in his main away, though. Look at Polt splitting his army up like this. He's ready to exploit any weakness that he can see. Oh no, the Templar being caught off guard! The worst possible situation for Oz to be in. What will happen now? It looks like the army is advancing on two sides. There's been no force fields thrown down yet, but Oz is coming in from the right.
That's a beautiful time warp and a great storm as well, dealing a lot of damage. And at the same time, this army was still coming out victorious as well. Ooh, that was a dicey start.
DTs and Zealots warping in at the right, and it looks like Oz is making a dash for the third.
So many Zealots over here. It's going to be kind of hard. This army is beaten up a little bit. A couple of Dark Templars like, shall we or shall we not? I guess we can.
Well, it looks like he's darting into the third. And look at this. Oz has already decided to assault the front with some DTs. More scans getting thrown down. Those are scans that will not be at the front. A couple of Ghosts die because they die in the loudest way humanly possible. We see High Templar storms.
This is great for Oz. Look at Oz's money. He's so rich. He's only on 130 supply, but he can easily be at 170, 180. Great force fields again. Still in this phase of the game. Guardian Shield being activated, and it's a good time to be a Zealot at this moment.
What a back and forth match. Polt is forced to retreat. The split of all different kinds of tech giving him too much of a headache. Polt does hold. Polt is up to his magical 8 barracks count, but his main is mined out. His natural is not looking too hot, has only 33 workers. Polt can't even really afford to re-land at this left base.
still 8 gates. I would like to see a few additional gates as Oz's money keeps spiking up during this big fight. But it's going all well. Oh, not a good force. So this force field has been impeccable throughout the entire game. That's something that I don't see too often in PvT. Early game to keep a Nexus alive. Sure, we all love force fields, but the later in the stages we all like to rely on Storm, while Oz just keeps throwing out sentries and he's actually making them work.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Guardian Shield in late game is so easily neglected, but of course, Zealots with the armor are going to have 4 armor, and then +2 from the Guardian Shield means they're blocking 6 damage for every single shot. I mean, if Polt is not extremely on point with his upgrades, he's going to suffer. But suddenly, all that's been thrown out the window. Polt now has 3-3. He's flooding back Marine Marauder. He's not even going to get too eager into Ghost, but look at that. Dark Templar at the left, Dark Templar at the top, picking off SCVs like crazy.
The amount of SCVs that have died, 75 throughout the entire game. Just a great job by Oz. He's gonna have to lift it up, and he will lift it up in time. This is just a great position to be in as a Protoss player. You have absolute map control, you're gonna macro up, you're gonna have a good time with your Dark Templars. Polt is not in the economic position where he really wants to scan for these Dark Templars, but he doesn't really have a choice, and there are just no missile turrets anywhere.
It's so easy as Protoss. I mean, you build a DT, send it in, build a DT, send it in, and you know you're just costing your opponent hundreds when, I mean, you don't want to be building SCVs as Polt right now.
8 medevacs on the map, 21. The marine count is also very high, which is not something that I think Polt truly wants. Only a single ghost out on the map. There are not too many High Templars, actually not a single one, but there is an Archon. There are Colossus on the map as well, and there are only 4 Vikings. Polt is just very, very poor. He's just not able to get the units that he really wants and the units that he really needs.
What a game one. To think that this all began with the second pylon proxied into 3 oracles at the start. An incredible back and forth game.
Polt has been fighting an uphill battle since minute 1 though.
Polt's been in a rough spot, and Oz is doing no messing around right now. Polt will attempt to drop in the main, but it doesn't even matter. Oz is beginning to gear up to the front. He's throwing down that pylon, and soon enough will be hurling down 10 Zealots at a time, all the reinforcements he wants.
The Templar Archive is very exposed. The Templar Archive will fall. That's kind of, you know, normally a little risky, as there's not a single High Templar out on the map. Dark Templar gets warped in, but gets picked up immediately. But I think that Oz just had enough of it. He wants to win game 1, and he wants to do it right here and right now.
Well, Polt is going to pull back as far into his main as he can and hope that this little strike squad down on the bottom is going to be enough to save it for him. He now heads up into the main base. He'll pick off all the pylons he can. But, I mean, is there any way he can control against this Death Force to win?
I think the only thing he can hope for is killing all the probes, all the nexus, and then somehow hope there won't be a Stargate out on the map so he can turn it into a draw. There's just almost no way he's ever going to kill this army.
Well, he's managed to kill off most of the pylons up in the main base. The Zealots arrive. Polt will choose to engage them at this point. He'll take them all down. Oz playing conservative, pulling back. Did Oz not scout the top right? Of course he did. He has a DT there. So the income for Polt is 0.
And he has 3 SCVs on the map, so even when that command center lands,
my God,
it's going to be pretty rough. This Nexus will fall, and this hit squad has definitely been successful, but the supply count tells the entire story. 83 against 169. Oz is playing this as safe as one could possibly do.
Well, interestingly enough, in terms of army supply, they're fairly close. It's 80 for Polt, 107 for Oz, and with these small numbers of Zealots.
Oh, we're going to see a big engagement here. The Vikings are a little out of position.
No. What a disaster engagement. Oz looked a little shaky in mid-game, but he is cleaning it all up now. Polt's last legs have fallen. Good game. Oz takes the series to 1-0.
Well, that's already one map more that Oz won last time, and I thought it was a good game by Oz, but I felt that he was able to win it on multiple occasions, and at a certain point he actually made it really hard for himself to win the game. You could say he was always kind of ahead, but it got kind of close at certain points.
Yeah, Oz almost lost that game with a lot